All right. Section 1.1 is all about evaluating expressions. Go ahead and put the section number, at least in your notes. If you want to write the title down there, that's fine as well. A lot of what you're going to see in this first chapter should hopefully be reviewed for you. I'll teach it like you've never seen it before, but hopefully this is a good way to ease into the year, just some easy stuff at the beginning. So 1.1, what we're doing today, evaluating expressions. What's an expression? Somebody tell me what that is? Okay, an expression in math, though.
Yeah.
You know?
Something that you can't equal something.
Good, because if it has an equal sign, what is it? An equation. So an expression is something that it doesn't have an equal sign, okay? And it's not greater than or less than. There's no symbol at all. It's just kind of like half of an equation. Either the left side or the right side is what you're seeing. So you've probably evaluated before. If you saw this problem, evaluate x over 5 when x equals 90, what would you do?
90 divided by 5.
Right, so when you're putting 90 in for x, you are doing what? What's the fancy math word for that? When we're replacing the variable with something, starts with an S. We're substituting, okay? So a good way to substitute is take your variable out. So I'm going to take my x out, and I'm just going to put a parentheses in its place. That parentheses is like a placeholder now. I can substitute anything I want in there. Parentheses are going to be important too, because eventually when you have fractions and exponents and negative numbers, the parentheses will make a difference when you type your number in the calculator, whether it's going to be right or wrong. So we replace the variable with the parentheses, and then, fancy math word, we substitute. And somebody said it earlier, that's ultimately the calculation that you're going to do. 90 divided by 5. Does anybody know that off the top of their head? 18. Beautiful. If not, you could always do it. If you didn't know that off the top of your head, you could use calculator. Perfect. How are we doing on the graphing calculator searches, by the way?
I found one for $47.
$47. Deal shopper. Love it. How much?
130.
130. Is that the newest?
I was on
Amazon. Is it the color, the CE version? Is it a little pricier? If you want the newest, fanciest, everything, yes.
That's like buying another pair of shoes.
Any questions? Okay. So let's try these ones. When you see a parentheses next to something with no other symbol, so no addition or subtraction, what are we doing? You're multiplying, right? So this first problem is really we're multiplying r times 4.6, and what is r equal to? 8.1. Now you can do this in 3 separate steps if you want, first line, second line, third line, or hopefully you can do this kind of in one step. You can make your parentheses where your variable is located at, so that's going to replace my r. I'm going to keep the 4.6, and my r is equal to 8.1. So we're just going to put 8.1 in its place. And then again, we see 2 parentheses next to one another, no other symbol between them, so we are multiplying. This is probably one you do not know off the top of your head, so grab a calculator.
I've got my phone calculator. Is that right?
Ooh, where should your phone be right now?
Oh.
Often in your bag or over there. Those are your 2 choices. No. Phone's not enough.
41.4.
41.4. Sounds good to me. Okay. If you don't have a graphing calculator yet, hopefully most of you guys have at least a TI-30 from middle school, the smaller little calculator, the OGT calculator they used to call it. If you have that, that's fine for a while too, but we need to use the graphing one within like a week and a half here. All right, you guys try the next one with your partner. Go.
I trust you, but I'm making sure.
got it? Do you and your partner agree?
Yes.
I don't have a calculator.
Neither of you have a calculator?
I forgot my
Turn to a friend around you. Find one. Figure it out. What'd you get? 60? Good. Question. Evaluating. Basic. Addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, all the same way. All right. So next. Oh, can I move this? By the way. Okay, a little bit. If I go too fast, just yell at me. Okay, I'll go back. All right. So exponents. You've done these before. We're just going to look at some terminology here. What the different pieces are called. What's the big number called? The base. What's the little number up top called? What's the whole thing called? Think of maybe another word for exponent. There's the P. Power.
Oh.
Okay, so when we take 3 to the 4th power is how I would read that. What calculation are you actually doing?
3 times 3 times 3 times 3.
Right, the base number, you're multiplying by itself that many times. So we see 3 to the 4th, it means multiply 4 3's together. So that's what this guy is. And that's, in words, 4 factors of 3. Good. Anybody know what that is equal to? Off the top of your head?
81.
81. Perfect. So an easy way to do that is to break it down. Everybody know what 3 times 3 is? 9. So these 3's are 9. And these 3's are 9. And what's 9 times 9? 1. That's a good way to do it in your head. Okay? Questions on exponent terminology. What it means, how it works. Okay? Can I flip it? Enough? Okay, so let's just evaluate with some exponents. Again, you might want a calculator here. Do you know what button you use for exponents in the calculator? Looks like this. We call it a caret key. The good news is the graphing calculator, it looks exactly the same as that. So it's going to work exactly the same way. So if I want to evaluate m to the 8th when m equals 1, I would just put in parentheses where my m is 1. And then in your calculator, you can type in 1 to the 8th power. As you see it. The answer is, if I multiply 8 1's together, 1. Right? 1 times 1 times 1 times 1 times 1. Okay? Evaluate y to the 3rd when y equals negative 3. So what would I be typing in my calculator? So you could do it that way. You could write negative 3 times negative 3 times negative 3, or in parentheses, negative 3 to the 3rd power. This is what it would look like in the calculator. Exactly that. You could type it in one line in the calculator. And again, graphing calculator, same way it's going to look. Answer is? Negative 27. Okay. So what would I have to do for the 3rd one up here? The answer is 25. Those of you that have calculators, real quick, type in negative 5 squared. Negative 5 to the 2nd power. There also is a little squared button on the older version. Ooh, calculator said negative 25. What's right? Mental math. Negative 5 times negative 5 is positive 25. So why would the calculator be saying negative 25? Because we don't want to make that mistake on a test. You know what the right answer is. How did you type it in your calculator?
I just put negative 5 times negative 5.
Okay. You put negative 5.
Actually, no, I didn't. I just did it in my head because I know 5 times 5 is 25.
How'd you put it? You put it in calculator.
How'd you get the negative 25 on your calculator?
Negative 5 squared.
To the 2nd power. Did anybody put it in their calculator and get a positive 25 in the calculator? What's the first step when we're evaluating? Parentheses. Put this in your calculator. Okay. Remember I said those parentheses were going to be important? Negative numbers to powers are one time where it will be important. When you take a negative number to an odd power, it's a negative times a negative times a negative. So it's always going to be negative. It doesn't hurt anything. But if you take a negative number to an even power, negatives and negatives should give us positives, right? They're going to cancel each other out. So sometimes it will make a difference when we're taking negatives to powers. If this guy's even up here, it's going to make a difference. The answer better be positive. So if your calculator is telling you a negative answer, it's probably because you forgot that parentheses. Don't make little mistakes like that. That's why I put this example up here. Okay. Fraction. So obviously here you're going to be doing 1/5 squared. I just want to talk about how do you put the fraction in the calculator. So older versions of the calculator, like the TI-30, it probably looks something like this. You hit a little ABC button,
Yep.
and this little thing that looked like an L came up. Does that look familiar? ABC button? Okay. And then you typed it in like that. Easier than that, and if you have a graphing calculator, this is how you're going to do it, because the graphing calculator does not have that little ABC button. You're going to use your parentheses. We're still going to use the squared, but every time you type a fraction in, fraction is division. So you're just going to use your division key. And if you guys have the older calculators, like the red ones or the blue ones, you can still use this method. I personally always put my fractions in parentheses, and I just use the division key, because that's going to work on any calculator. What is 1/5 squared?
1 divided by 25.
Both answers are correct that I heard. Yes. So decimal answer 0.04. Fraction answer 1/25. Okay, and of course, if you're taking a test or quiz, instructions would say round it or don't round it or give an exact answer or give a decimal or give a fraction. You just want to make sure you're able to do that. Questions? Good. Okay, let's do word problem. Now, first of all, in your notes, I do not expect you to write every single word of this word problem down. That would take forever, and I wouldn't want to do it, so I'm sure you don't want to do it either. What I do want you to write down is the important information on here. So, really quick, mentally, I'm going to give you like 1 minute. Read through this problem and write down anything that you feel is important information from this problem. I'm not asking you to solve it yet. I just want you to write down what you think is important. Okay. First sentence, you are ordering custom blinds for your bedroom windows. Is that important? Not really. Okay. Ordering instructions are to measure the width of the window in inches and add a 1/2 inch to this measurement. What did you write down? Something there is important for sure. Go ahead. Okay. Width of the window in inches. Anything else? Add a 1/2 inch to the measurement. Like it. Good. Okay. Paraphrasing? Yes? I'm not going to write everything down word for word. Part A now. Write an expression, which means no what? No equal sign. For the blind width. I think I'm missing a letter there. Anybody else notice my little typo? There should be a little D there. Width. You should order. Okay, so write an expression. We don't know how big the window is at this point, so we use a unknown. What do we call unknowns? Variable. So give me a variable that you could use for width.
LX.
LX. W? It doesn't matter, right? Call it anything you want. Okay, I heard L first. Let's use L. So L is my variable, and what do I have to do with the width of the window in order to get the actual measurement that I want?
Add a half.
Add 1/2. Good. And you could write it like that, or you could add on what other number? 0.5 would work as well. You can use decimal. Sure, whatever you prefer. Part B, if one of your windows is 27 inches wide, what width line should you order? So we do what? Fancy math word. Starts with S.
Substitute.
Substitute. What for what? 27 for L. And the answer is 27.5. Now, we are going to get in the habit of anything that's a word problem represents something in real life, so it deserves a label. 27.5 is what? Inches. So IN, or you can write out the whole word. Questions? Okay. Good. Let's do this one real quick together. Little preview to geometry. A square has a side length of S. How could you find its area? What could help you kind of organize this in your mind? Draw a square. And the side length is S. Well, what do you know about the sides of a square?
They're all the same.
They're all the same. Okay, so how could I find the area of this square? How do you find the area of a square or a rectangle? Multiply the length and the width. So you could either write S times S or S squared. So what's the area of a square that has a side of 5? 5 times 5, or 5 squared? 25. Perfect. This is what your homework's going to look like tonight. Do you have any questions? Evaluating expressions. Good. So, can I flip it? Everybody got what they need? By the way, where can you find these solutions at? If you want to look back at them, if you did miss something. On Polaris. All of these solutions will be posted, and YouTube, you will see the video. Homework. You guys got the packet yesterday that had the calendar on the front? The homework worksheet is the very first one in your packet. It says something about a line. It's a little riddle worksheet. Show your work. Use a calculator if you need to. I do not care if you actually answer the riddle part. If you want to, that's fine. But I do care that you show work for all of the problems. Okay? And tomorrow we'll roll. We'll either check notes or check homework or do a little pop quiz. Who knows?
Hey, you need a calculator. I can put my phone in.
Oh, no, you can't put your phone in now. You gotta put that in. Winner of the cell phone lottery is number 1. Nada. Get your phone.
That's why I was put my phone in.
I don't even know what guess it is.
Dude, I would put my phone in one.